Later's better. No, that's good to know. Already have one individual who was at a networking event earlier today, so it's pretty impressive getting 2 in a day. So that's good. Some of the items up here, so I emailed most people who are coming out and asked them what they're passionate about in their career. So you'll see that up on the board here. I love numbers, and the accounting professional provides me the opportunity to bring value. I love driving the entire recruitment department. I love sustainable design, natural building. I love my careers. I can see myself as a business doctor taking care of the health of the business. Really focused on passions when we're talking about networking. What I'm going to mostly be talking about today is getting away from a few of the misconceptions and more of the easy things to talk about. What do you do in your career? What kind of courses have you taken? More of those external objects, which would be certificates, titles, that sort of thing. Really want to focus on someone's passions and their values to create a quick connection and a meaningful connection. If I stand in a room and I ask you really what drives you or what's your passion, you're much more likely to respond and get into a really good conversation. So that's where some of this stuff has come from. So we're going to be talking today about the online and offline world. Maybe just a show of quick hands. Who's fairly familiar with networks online? We've got a few. Okay, most people. How about the offline world? Is this a fairly common thing that happens? Yeah, so that's good. Thanks for the participation. That starts off quick. That is good. So why networking? If we don't know why we're coming to these events, we don't know why we're doing it, it becomes very, very difficult to get up and come to these events. Meeting strangers, it sounds a bit suspect when we're in these rooms. I mean, we walk in, we don't really know anyone in this room. We might know a few of them. It'd be a very tough situation to walk into. One that, if we haven't had to do that for a while, can be very overwhelming. And I find these times we're in now can really have that effect, where we haven't had to do this for a while, but now we're reinventing coming out to these rooms. If I was the world's best networker, what would that mean to me? So for me, always focusing on passions and understanding why we're coming to this event. For myself, my biggest passion right now is a book. So I'm writing a book, and that book is going to come out in March. And what would it mean to me to be the world's best networker in the passion of having a book? Well, if I was the world's best networker and I had that book coming out, I would have tons of people buying the book and getting on board with it. Most likely, all of them would know about the book before, would have input into it. They would look at the draft copies, really feel ownership. So for me, that's huge. If I could have a massive network, it would be great just for exposure. And my one purpose that I really figured out this year, and it's about 3 months ago, is that my happiness is tied directly to the happiness of others around me. So this book is all about creating happiness every single day, just small things. So the more people I can get this book to, the more people I can help and really fulfill that purpose or that passion. And how would that feel? It'd feel pretty good. It'd feel really good. And so those are the things to keep in mind of why you're networking. Am I looking for a job? Maybe I have a job and I want the career passion, really what I'm driven most to be. We go through our high school, we go through our college, we go through our university programs. We come out the other side, and there's a bit of an expectation that that's what you're going to do for the next 40 years. Big thing I always say is forget about that. Once you get out, you need to find your purpose and really find what drives you. So coming out to these events is perfect for that sort of thing. You get to talk to people, you get to find out about other events, grow your network. It becomes really a lot easier to come and understand why. So just maybe get the thoughts going of why you're out here today. So I normally say that it's not all about the person right here, it's always about the person you're talking to and getting them to talk. So I'm not going to talk the whole time today. We're going to have some interaction and some movement as well, so hopefully no one falls asleep. The back row is a lot easier to fall asleep in, but come on. So 2015, a year in review. So why am I up here today, and why am I doing this? Well, I spent the complete last year networking. Offline networking, online networking. The start of the year, I was getting out a lot, 2 events, meeting some great people, not really doing as good as I could have been, more or less getting out to events, sitting down, soaking in whatever happened, and just going home, not really meeting anyone, reaching out. It was a lot more comfortable for me to take the online route, so I spent about 6 months in there on the online world, and it really took off from there, and I had a lot of great things happen. So I mentioned the book, there's great exposure there. I started meeting people with the same purpose or same passions and values. What I do for 40 hours right now is risk management consultant, or help people understand what can blow up in their facilities. I started posting events that would occur. People started reaching out to me, wow, this is really interesting. I put a calendar of events up online. It went around the globe. I now have a connection base that spans the globe, and I talk to regularly about this sort of stuff. So it's just awesome how that worked out. I realized that I was doing way too much online. I was kind of sitting behind a computer. My tan had gone away. The lights were all dim in there. I was just getting a little ghostly, so I had to step back out into the real world and get it back into the offline. So that's been about the last 3 months, and it's a much better situation now that I've got a bit more comfortable in the online world and now branching back to the offline. So the typical story, we hug with the mouse, talk to a few people today, found the event, maybe through Eventbrite, maybe me passing it on to you, to the network, asking you to spread it. Definitely appreciate everyone coming out. It can be a bit hesitation registering for events, and this is a bit of my story, which I feel will reflect nicely in the room. I know there's some very confident networkers in here who don't have some of these issues, but for most people it can be pretty awkward stepping out into these environments. So even for myself, the mouse click can be bad. Driving to the event, I had one event this year that I said, I should just turn around. You know what? This event isn't going to be good. I'm not going to meet anyone. Why am I doing this? And I kind of caught myself having these thoughts and said, whoa, just make it happen. I'd been to this event before and it had been great. So I remembered that, forced myself to go. The hypnosis he does is not in front of a room of people and makes them all do crazy stuff. It's more just gaining a quick understanding based on values. So quick rapport is emotional state transition. It's a fancy word for just have fun with the person, laugh with them, get into a more serious conversation with them. Don't just be dull, standing there talking, doing one of these, because you're going to put the person to sleep. So if you can get through some emotional states, if you can get a laugh with that person, ask them about their day, maybe tell them about your day, maybe you stepped in a puddle on the way to work, you were soaked for the whole day, spilled a cup of coffee on it, I don't know, whatever it may be. If you can share an emotional state transition with someone, it becomes very quick to build rapport. Another thing is shared values or passions. So one thing I really urge is when you first talk to someone, first game we're going to play here is location, occasion. It's a 3-step process. So when you walk through the door, you're focusing on your posture. The first person you can talk to, I want you to play this game. 3 steps. You start with location or occasion. So location would be the Calgary Library here. If you've ever been to this library, tell me a bit about that experience. Maybe you haven't, my first time too. Get them talking about location. If you can do that, get them talking about occasion. So what this would be is, oh, have you been to a networking event today? How was that? John, that'd be kind of funny. Have you been to a networking event today? Just stuck in my head. Oh, have you? Yeah, actually I have. So occasion, talk about the event. This is the first step, and what we're trying to do here is get them to do the talking. Rattle questions off them. And I've said actually a few times today, I try and not say it, but how was your day? That's a dead-ended question. It's not going to go anywhere. Tell me about your day. Get them talking. Career passion. What do we all identify ourselves with, typically in the Western world? Your career. Your career is your identity, for the most part. Talk about their career. Get them in there. Maybe they don't seem very interested. If the question comes up, say, maybe, what do you do for your career? And it's, I'm an EMT. Oh, tell me a passion about that. Well, I hate my job. You don't want to go down that road. So then quickly branch over to passion. Okay, what are you passionate about? Because the goal is to connect on those passions and values. You get the person talking, that's step 2. And then step 3 is install now, remind me later. They'll pick remind me later. And this is create a time space. So what you're looking at doing here, and again, this is from NLP mixed with hypnosis background. A lot of really good stuff in there. Create time space. So ask that person about their passion. How long have you been passionate about this? You want to go as far back as possible with this. So maybe I'm talking to Lyndon here and he's passionate about mountain biking. Okay, Lyndon, tell me more about your passion for mountain biking. When did it start? Have you always enjoyed mountain biking?
Oh, yes, since a small boy.
Okay, so then you start really prying on questions. So tell me about your favorite moments mountain biking when you were younger. Ripping down a hill, or where'd you grow up?
Usually it was as a child going out of town into like trees that had paths in it.
Okay, so was this close to your home?
Yeah, in a walkable distance for a kid.
Okay, so did your brothers and your sisters?
Exactly, yeah, like
so?
Neighborhood kid.
Okay, that's awesome. So what we're looking at doing there is just getting the person to talk, and you're trying to create a time space. What that does is it associates you back into their memory, creating a feeling that you've known the person longer. It sounds like craziness right now, but I'll send a follow-up video to everyone. It's very good techniques that he's teaching. I use this all the time, and it's a bit rudimentary in here with the room where we haven't moved a whole lot, we haven't talked a whole lot, but it works really, really good. you have the person telling you about their passions, which instantly they do one of these, they perk up, I want to tell you all about it. And you just keep asking questions to get them going. You learn their passions. Maybe you have the same passions. That's awesome. That's really the goal of what we're looking at here, is find people with the same passions and the same values. So now we'll stand up. Please. Fantastic. There we go. Power posture, eh? So I want everyone to get into kind of the weakest posture they can think, or just the toughest posture, maybe a bit hunched over. I'll find a few chairs in the back. So remember, just not feeling good, hunched over a bit. How does that make you feel? There's laughing, that's tough. It's tough to laugh when you're in one of those postures. Just now straighten up the posture and just really focus on being as tall as you can, as spread back. How does that feel? Focus on the breathing. It's much better. So can you imagine focusing on that when you're coming through those doors this time? What a difference that would be. I know some people don't have the issue, but for us that do, it's really good as you focus on that. You forget about all the little things you're thinking. What if I can't get into a group? What if I don't meet anyone? What if there's nothing good going on? Take away those thoughts and focus on something. Coming through the door, focus on your posture and your breathing. When you get in, focus on the 3 rules. What are they? Woo! Starts with
Location.
fantastic. Yeah, it's off the board now. It's that stuff. Second step. Nice. I expect everyone to try this out at 7. And then the last one. Yeah, sounds crazy, right? But try it out. It works fantastic. Swear by it. So thanks for everyone standing up. You can sit back down. Okay, can you stand back up? I'm kidding. So make it a game. As soon as you make it a game, you forget about all those small things that really throw you off. And this was a complete game changer for me, is I was always focused on that little voice in the head. I'm not going to meet anyone. What if I can't talk to anyone? What if I'm the one over in the corner and everyone else is talking to someone and I'm just there by myself? What do I do? Pull up my phone? Hope I have a text message. What happens if I don't have a text message? Create a game.
Text someone.
I'll write that down. Yeah, so make it into a game. During the event now, look at that. Put me to sleep in a very nice looking spot. Good. So this is now when I'm talking, so this is really focusing on the room, or who looks interesting. Maybe you came into the room and there's someone you wanted to talk to, you didn't have the opportunity to. Start thinking about the kind of conversation you're going to have there. Again, the 3 steps. Let's scoping out who you want to talk to. Remember, passions. Quickest way to that rapport is, again, to share the emotional states and then meet up with passions and values. So you quickly begin to like someone. Sure, we can all think about a terrible conversation we've had. The person on the other side is doing all the talking, putting us to sleep. And then there's conversations where we've talked to people, we've had the same passions as them, we've had the same values, and it's been incredible, and you're probably still in touch with those people nowadays. So that's focusing on passions and values. There's a couple questions before the, answer now. It's terrible when someone does that, right? I've got this great thing that I'll tell you later. Thanks. Got the secret. So yeah, you're boring. Your job when it's networking, or what you should be focusing on, is getting the other person to talk. Getting the other person to talk about their passions, their values. We all love talking about ourselves. Who doesn't, right? And yeah, attendance builds presence. So get out to these events, hit 2 a month. Once you get out to them, you start recognizing people. Once you start recognizing people and understanding their passions and values, it becomes really easy for that other person to make a connection. Oh my God, you need to meet Ben. Ben does this great thing, he loves the environment, and then that's the connection from there. So you walk into a room, and you might actually know someone in the room for a change, and that person might know someone and connect you. So it becomes a lot easier once you get out to more. So the strategy here is really, when we start talking to the person, is learn who they are. So if I'm talking to Freed and I get into your passions and I find out that you love writing, and I think, oh my God, I've got a friend who loves writing too, I need to connect to you. We always want to be adding value to the person, so if we can help them out in their journey, think of someone in your network who can help them out. It becomes very easy once we get to understand people. Go back on that one for a minute, 2 steps. who do we enjoy helping out in our lives? If we think of someone we help out all the time, what's a typical characteristic of that person?
They're needy, right?
Yeah, they're needy. Yeah, so they're needy. That's a bad one.
Well, they're just.
They could be family, they could be friends. We're very likely to help someone if they've helped us. So that's when we're in these rooms, you need to figure out as quick as you can where that person's having the biggest issue in their day, in their week. You try and help them out. That's all about adding value. So you learn who they are, you learn their passions, their values, and then you focus as hard as you can on helping them out with the problem they're having today, or connecting someone who can help them out. Because in that process, they are much more likely to be able to help you out whenever you're having a hard time. So focus constantly adding on value. I know a couple great networkers who they'll come up and once you know how they operate, it's almost a bit scary because they're always, what do you need help with today? And you'll give them the answer, and then right away they'll have a connection for you. And you know what they're doing, and it's kind of like, I know what you're doing, but at the same time too, it's awesome. Because who doesn't like someone who's trying to help you out 24/7? And I'm just that much more willing to go and help them out, even though I might have only met them for 5 minutes. I go, wow, you're gonna help me out? That's fantastic, how can I help you out? So always adding value. Time is your friend. So you only have a short amount of time in these rooms. Spend it wisely, really get to know those people. And if the focus, starting off just meeting one person, if you're focusing on meeting 2 or 3, you're gonna have to cut those conversations off and move on to someone else. So keep in mind on time. So closing and follow up, get their card and bullet point your conversation. So as soon as we're done, everything sticks in our minds really well. As soon as we go along, we forget. Things start slipping out of our mind. So if you've had a really good conversation with someone, you've got to know them really well, you've got to know their passions, their values, write that down. Whether it's on their business card, that's the best place. Maybe they didn't have a business card, write it down on a piece of paper and keep that. That's very important for the follow-up conversation. If I just follow up to you with a generic email, hey, it was great to meet you last night, let's have coffee sometime. Well, I'm not too likely, but just say, hey, it's great to meet you last night, it was really awesome. Your kids were over in Switzerland, and you could tell me about your whole experience in Europe, and it was really interesting to hear how you did a recent paper on social media and the use in upper level management, C-level management. That's really interesting. I'd really like to keep those conversations going. I didn't just make that up, kind of sound like I did though. That was about a month ago, met an individual, and that was what we talked about the whole time. Talked to him every week now or so, and the connection that we've made was incredible, and I've only met him for maybe 5 minutes, and we follow up with email. We connected on the passions and values. I showed that I cared by remembering and following up. So many people send all these generic requests, generic emails. It becomes much easier to like someone and much easier to connect with them if they understand your passions and values and if you understand theirs. Add them to social media. So a bit of the strategy here, meaningful follow-up, just timely, make it happen so you don't forget. Keep it written down. Schedule every 3 months into your calendar. If you really meet someone who's interesting and you want to talk to them again, keep it on a 3-month cycle so you don't forget. Because once you start going out, you'll meet a lot of people and it becomes really hard to keep track of that in the memory bank. So a calendar is a really good option, or if you're an engineer, you like Excel, throw it in Excel. And schedule those follow-ups so you don't forget. I had one that I actually forgot about recently. I want to talk about my own system. It was a year later, and I got back to her, and she actually taught me, when you're having a conversation, don't just give a dead-ended question. She says, start all your conversations with, tell me about. So I let her know in a follow-up email that I was still using this, and I told lots of other people this trick, and it's working wonderfully. Asked her where she's at now, and kind of what's the biggest hurdle for her, if I could help out at all. She got back to me right away, and she was ecstatic, through an email. And I'd only met her once, but the fact that I could remember this, and then let her know that she was adding value to my complete network and offer assistance to her is huge. It was massive. And it had been a year's time, so it really doesn't matter how long it's been, as long as you did a proper connection. Talk a bit about now, since it's on the mind, but there's a lot of focus out there to connect with a CEO or a VP, or there's a lot of fear that you can't connect with those people. When we're focusing on titles or positions or skills, it becomes very hard to network up a ladder at all. So you have a typical RP in your company, stickman. You don't have arms, who needs arms these days? So we have the worker bees down here. We should probably only talk to this level of people. We can't go up at all. Titles. Maybe when you're networking, try to talk about cars, houses, whatever, maybe. Probably doesn't come up, that'd be bad. Where do you live? Oh, I live in a nicer neighborhood than you. Can't talk to you. When we're focusing on passions and values, this doesn't matter at all. The title doesn't matter. If someone is passionate about writing or is passionate about the outdoors, they're passionate about that and they're going to talk to you. If we're focusing more from a perspective of work experience or skills, that's where we really lose this. And there's questions about, I'm new into my career, I don't know what to talk about. I really don't have enough over my span of the career to talk about anything meaningful. It really doesn't matter. When I come into a room like this, one of the last things I try to talk about, there's the career passion line there, I always go for the passion, is career, because we've been at our job the whole day and we've talked technical stuff the whole day, we're worn out, our batteries for that are drained right to the bottom. So if you can get someone talking about their passions outside of work, when they've been talking about work all day, it's just this feeling of relief. And you can see it on their faces, and if you can bring some energy into it too, it just creates such a connection. So when we're talking about titles here, and if we're doing some research, because sometimes we want to connect with these people, don't research what they've done in their, well, it can be a fine line there, but don't really try and talk to them with the title of, oh, you're CEO of this company, it's fantastic, I think you're doing wonderful things, I'd like to connect with you. Do some research on them, find what they're passionate about. There's probably a news article about them if they're CEO or VP. Dig into it, do some work, and it no longer matters, the hierarchy here. I got a meeting on Friday with the CEO of a company in town. I connected with him, I was talking about his charity that he has. Someone who has a charity is obviously pretty passionate about that right away, and I offered to help. How can I help you during the holiday season? Worked out just perfect, so I helped him out with his campaign. He's willing to sit down with me, he's actually happy to sit down with me. It doesn't matter that there's a big title difference in there, so we connect, we help each other. There's a couple other ones that I'm writing down. The first one that got me into online networking was a VP of business development. So higher up in a company, and it was business development, but still, that's a title. And when you're used to titles, that's high up in a company. So he had a really interesting post, and I read into it, and you can pull the passions out of it. I forget what the topic was, but I sent him an inbox message, not expecting anything back, because typically, oh, you shouldn't talk to anyone higher, you're not gonna be able to connect with them. Within minutes, he got back to me, and I had this super meaningful connection. He offered help with anything I need. It was wonderful when you're connecting on the passions and values. Oh yeah, see, I do this one too. Just took me a bit longer. Canva. We'll go home and see Canva. Wearing all weirdos in a dark corner or completely unreachable. A little ninja behind a computer. So it can feel like sometimes, if you have an online profile and you're not active on it, you look like a ninja behind a computer. You might just have your face up there and nothing on your profile. I'm kind of wondering what the heck's going on with this person. Is this even a person? Any questions about offline networking while we're here? There's got to be some questions. You can ask me after too. There were some emails that came through. Did I answer all the emails? Yeah, I think so. If any questions come up, throw some at me. I'm talking too much. Hey, no sleeping in the back. I'm just kidding. So, being found, skills are not unique, you are. I put this together, I thought it was pretty clever. Put maybe me on the bottom. I couldn't find a Google search for it, so I'm probably going to claim that. Tons of people have skills. That does not set you apart from a room of people. Skills do not set you apart. It more or less groups you into a group of people. What we're trying to do here is prove that we're a person and prove that we're different than a group. So when we're talking about who you are, what should we talk about? Starts with P.
Passion.
Oh gosh, I think you could put the hang on. Yeah, so put your passions on it. I spell it wrong?
3 S's.
Woo!
Perfect.
That's just because you want more emphasis on passion. Talk about that passion.
More passionate.
Just didn't do that. Shoot in the front row. Yeah, so just hands up, is there a difference between online and offline networking? Does it feel different when we're doing this? Yeah. I'm debating you. I hate when people do that. Yeah, I know. Thanks, man. So, what's the difference between meeting someone completely new in the street, or you meet them out at some sort of networking event and online? You've never met them before, you never talked to them before. You connect with them, hey, how's it going? What's your career? What are your passions? It's almost tougher in the offline world. If you get the online world, you have their profiles up there. You learn right away who that person is. You can do some research on them. You can find out about them. You can send them a meaningful message with never being exposed to them before and make a connection. if you talk about your passions and values. Maybe you find a news article, one that wasn't recent. This weekend, they're big focus on happiness with a book coming out, so I have my Google News set up. There's a school in the UK who's bringing a happiness teacher in. They had a student's mom commit suicide, really bad situation in the school, so they're bringing her in. I think that's fantastic. I think that's something we could use in a lot of workplaces here. We hear a lot about that, and there's mindfulness mental training company in Calgary starting out to really address this. So I connected to her and I said, this is a great article, I think this is fantastic. I did a bit of research on her over the past period of time. I could see how long she's been doing it, kind of where she was. Real meaningful message. She got back to me right away and thanked me for the connection and said, I look forward to talking more with you over just the book and a couple of things she's doing. So when we come into a room like this, everyone's a complete stranger. When we're in the online world, we can find out a lot about that person, and we're talking about connecting just on passions and values. Pretty tough to do this in a room. I can't tell what you're passionate about by looking at you. Maybe if you have skate shoes, you bring skateboarding or something. I don't know. I'll do that in the summer. You can find out a lot more about a person online than you can offline, so it makes those connections a lot easier. The thing with online connections, it can feel pretty creepy. You see a person's face, you read a bit about them, you click that connect button. I'm talking about LinkedIn, I'd like to add you to my network. It is creepy. Who are you? Why are you connecting with me? Put a little effort into it and learn who the person is, and you can make these connections really good. And I'd say these are some of the most valuable connections that I've made over the last year through the process. Develop a voice. If you're not on there and you're not commenting, you're not liking, you're not sharing, people don't know who you are. You're pretty much doing one of these again in the corner. We bridge to offline networking. You're not doing anything. If you have a profile and it's not active, people don't know who you are. As soon as you start commenting on anything, your voice comes through. As soon as you start posting, people learn what really drives you, what fuels you. You develop a voice when you get online. So that's a very important aspect, is to be commenting, be liking, be sharing. It can be a bit tough at the start, but just get into it and see what happens. You'll soon have people connecting with you, and most likely someone will be with passionate, more meaningful messages. I saw you put this up. I feel really, really enthused by that too, and want to connect and look forward to thought sharing. Something I use a lot of the time. So strategy here is you need a likable story fast. I'm going to talk about that, just flying through. Your summary. LinkedIn's an easy one. It's a lot of skills, and I'm a hard worker, I'm a good communicator, whatever you can think of. Everyone's a hard worker and good communicator out there. It doesn't separate. You might have some really awesome skills and a bunch of letters behind your name, but what does that tell me about you? You're just the same as everyone else. So focus on your passions in here. What are you most passionate about in your job? People I email, they're passionate about something in their job. Put that up on your profile. It becomes very easy to like a person when they're putting themselves out there, and perhaps you don't like what's on a person's profile and you don't connect with them. It's better. Yeah, so the overview portion or the summary is very important, just to fill it up with your passions, not I'm a good worker, I'm hard, detail-oriented, whatever is out there. This is my favorite picture of them all. Looks tasty. Is anyone hungry? Yeah, I'm just hungry. Give it all away, add value to your network. A really good portion of LinkedIn is the projects section. If you've gone through university, you've done a project and you're proud of it, put it in there so people can see. And we're talking about skills and getting away from that, but put it down at the bottom. Your summaries at the top, talking about your passions, your values. I get into your profile, I can read over that right away, and that's where I get hooked. That's where it grabs me. Wow, this person's passionate about this, I'm passionate about that too. That's amazing. You start scrolling down and you see a few more of these things. I'm a big fan of just giving things away. If you have a project you're very proud of or something that will add value to a community, you put it out there for free, because it'll be out there sooner or later. And as soon as you start giving things for free, that's adding value to people. They're going to love you. Thank you for this. This is awesome. Inspires them to start sharing. I don't know if anyone has really worked a lot of the online. Is there anything you've kind of given away for free or some good help or insights? Or is it more just buy my product?
Calvin,
Yeah.
I see a lot of people online will give away advice, especially on LinkedIn, and I think that's probably a good starting spot. But I think that's maybe what you mean.
Yeah, for sure. So whether it's advice or some sort of product example, I'll talk about it a bit. Put a calendar together this year. It just has a bunch of anniversary dates on it. Put that online. It's something you could have easily sold, but why sell it? I mean, it's for the community. It's for the better. There's a purpose to it, and people really hop on board with it. Yeah, I could have charged $2 or $3 for it, but what does that get me? It gets me nowhere. It probably gets me people who don't like what I'm doing. Is why I just got charged for that. It doesn't suck. Vertical communication, when we talk about that, I already covered it with 3 S's. When you're at the bottom, you can talk to the people at the top, but just don't talk to them in a position of, oh, you're a CEO and I'm a lowly worker. Tell me about your CEO day. Find out what their passions and what drives them. You can have that conversation after. You can play hangman with them. You can completely mess it up. No one will know as long as you bring energy to the room. Yeah, so reaching out to grow your influence. Any questions up to this point online that makes sense? Biggest things you can take away here is put your passions in your summary and start developing a voice. So if you're not online commenting, you're the weirdo in the corner. We don't want to be the weirdo in the corner. But it can be tough to get into. So strategy here is passions and values, give the people a reason to connect. We all know our feeds. It shows up when a friend of ours likes something. It could be if someone else's. It's like pointing a finger. I compare it to, if this is my network on LinkedIn, we're in a big safari bus, we're cruising through the jungle, I'm on one window, someone up front, oh my God, check this out, they yell, I look what it is, maybe it's awesome, they pointed out a line I would have never seen before, they pointed out a giraffe I would have never seen before. That's awesome. It's the same thing with content online. Just start putting it up to grow your name. People like, as soon as they like it, their entire network sees your face. And there's a hover effect in here as well, I like to call it. If you don't have a good profile picture, if you've got a northern pike like this in the air, maybe you're diving out of an airplane, it's not as effective as a nice photo where you can see the person. And the 3 lines we get underneath, try and draw them in with something. If I'm scrolling through my feed and I see the great white northern jack being held out in some sort of description that's very trivial, I'm just going to keep scrolling. But if I have a picture that catches my eye and a title that sounds catchy, I'm much more likely to click on that. Let's get a bit creative.
That person's profile picture is their passion.
Hey, that's a fantastic question. You're going to draw people who you want to draw to you, and if you want great white northern pike on your profile, you're going to draw people who like great northern pike on their profile. I like that. Depends what world we're in, I suppose. If we're out in the field, we have more of a field-related job. Yes, absolutely. For myself, though, just like the nice clean photos and then a nice catchy title underneath. So yeah, value-based, meaningful messages only. Get away from the just clicking connect and going through and hoping it works out. Add something to that message, do some research on the person, find out about them. So follow-up is very important here. It's no different than the offline world. If you're not following up with people, that contact more or less just goes to sleep. And we don't keep that conversation up for how we can help each other. So when we're talking about a lot of value adding, you don't just help someone out off the bat and then forget about them. You keep that conversation up, especially if you're passionate about what they're passionate about. You want to be involved with it. So if you have to, and it's a good idea to sketch or lay out a plan that you're going to follow up with people every 3 months. On the weekend, that one I had followed up with a year was a huge impact to me that I'd forgotten about that person. I need to follow up with them. Keep them in mind. Introduce people. We've talked about this a bit before, but if you know someone who shares a passion with someone else, they get along really well. Last week or 2 weeks ago, there's a real big environmental push. A lot of people at our meeting were focused on more of sustainability and more of the green aspect. So I started connecting them. And when you make those connections, it is good for you because, again, we want people in our network who are going to help us out, and if they help us out, we're much more likely to help them out. After that happened, I have them making connections for me. So it works out both ways, focusing on adding value. There's no easy pill to any of this stuff. It's just get out there and do it, basically. Going over some of the strategy might have been pretty quick. If you want to send me a personalized email or even talk to me now, we've got some time left. We'll focus on some of that aspect a little more. The online and offline world, they seem very different off the bat, but when you start diving into them, they share a lot of the similar characteristics. When you think about it, we're all people on the other side, whether it's on the other side of the computer or the other side of the room, sitting beside them, it's all the same stuff. We can connect on passions, values, makes it a lot easier. So yeah, interactions are king in the online world. Get out there, like, comment, follow, no generic responses. So a bit of an overall strategy here, right from offline down to the bottom. Tell yourself why you're networking. If you don't know why you're networking, you're not going to come out to the event. It's no different than being in the car, being confused. Okay, why am I going to this event? This is a bit scary. I don't know if I'm going to meet someone, whatever it may be. And I've actually talked to a bunch of people who've been in the car and they've turned around. Because at that point, we really don't understand why we're going to the events. Make it a game. So the game starts from when you're walking down the stairs and you're coming through the door. Focus on your posture. Don't forget about everything else. Because if you walk through the door doing one of these, it's pretty tough to come talk to you. Unless you have some Robaxis head or something, you want to help them out. Loosen up. Make it a game. Focus on what you can do. What are the 3 steps? What was the first one? Occasion. Yeah. And then the second one?
Career passion.
Career passions. And then the third one?
Space time.
Yeah, create space, or create time. You don't want to create space, get away from me. That, you might have gone a little too close with them. That doesn't work out. There's also another thing, I was going to show you off the bat, but I forgot. Is when you're coming into a room, it can be really tough to get energy levels up. I find that's one thing I struggle. If I walk through the door and I'm not in a good mood that day, it's not going to go well. If I walk through the door and I just talk to someone, they made me laugh, I'm going to come through and I'm going to feel like the world's at my feet. Because it is at my feet, it's right down there. So a technique you can use, this technique's called YouTube, is watch a funny video before you come in. This is a gentleman out of Calgary. He does some great MC work. He's also a comedian and does some live acting. Found this today, I thought it was hilarious. It's called Golfing in Canada. Thanks to Max. Max signed up for the library pass today so that I could get the Wi-Fi here. I'm going to need you to go upstairs and complain, Max, if it's too slow.
Still connected.
It could be, let's do this one. Or we won't watch any of them at all. I'll just act it out. So we're in the car, we're driving down. No, it doesn't like me. So I'll act it out. They're in the golf cart. Andrew Fawn will throw him an email too. He's great to check out. The video is going to show you, it's called Golfing in Canada. And they're during complete winter conditions. So they hop into their cart and they get stuck in a snowbank. And they try and rip it out of the snowbank. Then they lose their golf ball and they shove them through. They finally find it. They're unloading their bags from their cars in the parking lot. And there's a hockey puck that rolls out. And it lands on the floor and says you have to be prepared for everything. They ditch their golf clubs, they grab their hockey sticks and have a hockey game match right in the parking lot. I guess it was on Shaw. I don't really watch TV a whole lot, but yeah, that's really funny. So thanks for everyone for coming out. If you have any questions, email or right now. Other than that, have fun meeting everyone. There's a lot of great people in the room.
Thank you.
Yeah.